The best brands define their PR wow in a clear, concise, and compelling way to attract major media coverage, fans, and sales. Find out their marketing and public relations secrets today on 8-Second Branding with host Liz H. Kelly. Liz is the founder of Goody PR and the author of 8-Second PR. In each episode, she brings you the stories behind some of the best brands, CEOs, and authors. Plus, she explains how media appearances alone are 3 times more valuable than any paid ad. Now, here's your host, Liz Kelly.
Hello, this is Liz Kelly with a hot new episode of 8-Second Branding, the podcast to kick off 2022. So happy New Year. And we have a goal expert here today. Deboraheckerling is the founder of the DEB Method, and she's also the author of Your Goal Guide. So we are going to talk all about how to set goals to kick off the new year with her insights with a focus on book writing, because a lot of people I know out there are thinking about writing a book and it's really important for your brand. So welcome to the show, Deborah. Tell us a little bit more about you. What did I miss? And happy New Year to you.
And happy New Year, Liz. Always great to see you and speak with you, and thrilled to be here. So happy New Year, happy new you, happy all of the things. As Liz mentioned, I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm creator of the DEB Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified, and author of the award-winning Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. I'm a corporate consultant, workshop leader, motivator, and I'm all about helping people figure out what they want so they can make a plan to get it. And that's really what setting goals are all about, because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And that foundation, especially anytime, but as we're through the new year, it's like, okay, this time next year, what do you want to say that you accomplished? And then figure that out, make it happen. Okay, I know we still have more to cover, but that's really what goal setting simplified is all about. Figuring out what you want, really doing that foundation, and then making a plan and turning it into reality.
Fantastic. I love that. And I do think a lot of times I talk to people and I say, just start your goal, because so many people, they have these big goals. They talk about ideas, especially writing a book, and then it just seems so overwhelming. So maybe let's talk about that. How do you just get started?
Well, to really just get started is even simpler than everything else. Start with visualizing. When you think about the life you want, when you think about where you want to be 6 months from now, 9 months from now, next year, what does that look like for you? Because so many people, they overthink their goals, they underthink their goals, they're living a previous version of their life. You can leave that behind. The world is your oyster. So start with thinking about what you want, and then doing that foundational work. Who am I? What makes me special? What is my mission? What is my motto? And once you have that groundwork, then yes, go. Explore what you need to do to bring it into reality. And for a lot of people, whether you're a business owner or an expert, or maybe you work either your own company or someone else's, and you have this topic, this subject that you love, that you want to share with the world, things. Writing a book is really an excellent way to get the who you are and what you know out there. And yes, if you're overthinking it, stop overthinking it and just really get going. So once you have your big picture, writing a book is really as simple as brainstorming what you're going to write about and just scheduling time to work towards it a little bit at a time. There are so many, there are experts in everything. What makes you unique? Using your experience and your background, your story, which I know you talk a lot about, taking all the things that make you you. Why not put it into a book? But it really starts with that commitment. I'm going to do this.
There were so many good points that you just brought up. So let's talk about a couple of them. Number one is, to just get started, you want to dig deep and you want to think about what is your mission? What is your why? Because if you have a really strong why and you have passion, that will propel you to write your book. For example, we're launching a new version of 8-Second PR. It's a how to do PR yourself. And we do it because we want to help other people who can't afford to hire our PR agency to do PR with a how-to book with all our PR secrets. A book is also a credibility jumpstart. You know, one of the reasons why we wrote 8-Second PR was because we wanted to have credibility in the area where we work, just like you have your book about goals and you have your method, the DEB method, which you talk about in the book. The book is a credibility business card. And so that should motivate all our listeners to really think about where can you jumpstart your career or your business by writing a book. So that to me would be number one with what you just said. But number two, where do you start? Now you've got this big idea. Where do you start? I always tell people, yes, brainstorm, but start with the table of contents, because that gives you structure and then you can fill in the blanks. So what do you think about that idea, starting with the table of contents?
Well, yes, there really are as many ways to go about writing your book, bringing it into the world, as there are probably people. And the table of contents is good, but one thing that I tell my clients is when you're writing a book for business, self-publishing is a completely feasible way to go. But there's also the option of traditional publishing. And the way you approach both either is a little bit different. So originally, I had planned to self-publish Your Goal Guide as a book called the DEB Method. And what had happened is I rebranded myself as Deb almost 4 years ago, because I decided it was time for me to embrace what I love, which is helping people, figure out their goals and turn their dreams into reality. So I rebranded, I wrote a draft of my book, and then I met an agent, and he said, "What is your goal?" And I said, "Well, my goal is to be the first person people think of when they hear the word goal." He said, let me send me your book proposal. Let's send it out in the world, because mainstream might be the better option for you. So I had actually written a version of my book like a workbook, and then I backed into it, wrote the book proposal. And this was spring 2018. By the end of the year, Mango, my publisher, showed interest, and my book came out January 2020. The reason I'm saying this is whether you plan to self-publish or traditionally publish, I think a book proposal is really the perfect place to start, because it gives you, well, first of all, no matter which way you publish, you have to promote yourself, because it is a partnership if you're working with a publisher, or if you're self-publishing, you need to know the same thing a publisher will need to know about your book. And a book proposal is a marketing document. So you've got the overview. What is the big picture of it? You've got what the different sections are. You've got your table of contents, but also you have things like your demographics, your audience, your marketing plan. So all of those things go into a book proposal, which will help you write your book, whether you're doing it self-publishing and on your own. One other thing I'll add before we move on is, for nonfiction books, if you're looking to go traditional, they accept your book proposal. So if you're writing a memoir or fiction, or basically anything that isn't nonfiction type book, then you need the whole manuscript. But if you're looking to traditionally publish, you need a book proposal, because your book may change. They buy the idea. I sent out a book proposal for the DEB Method, and it evolved into Your Goal Guide, which is the book that I wrote. It's the same book. It's the DEB Method is the first half, Strategies for Success is the second half. So the table of contents is great, but go beyond that. Think of the overview, the who you are, how you help, and why you are the person to be writing this book. And also you want to do a competitive analysis. what other books are out there that are similar to yours, but in what ways is your book unique? What is the hole? What is the gap the book that you are writing is filling? And then also, who is your audience? Very important.
Wow, there are so many great points in that. And so I hope everybody's taking notes, because I do think you bring up excellent points. You have to think about marketing from the beginning. When you are planning a book, it is a lot of work. So you don't want to just jump in and do it without thinking through some of these things, like what makes you the great expert that can tell this book, and what makes you a unique voice. And then who are the competitors, with similar books, and what makes your book different? How is it going to stand out? All of those things are really, really important. So I'm so glad you brought that up. The other point that I stress with clients from the beginning is, whatever your title is, make sure you go and check and see if you can get that URL, and make sure you can buy, the first thing I did was buy 8secondpr.com. So you want to take your book title and go to GoDaddy or another service and make sure you can get that. Because I've had clients who they use a cliche or an overused statement, and it's been overused, and then it makes it really hard to market. So what do you recommend with that?
Well, there's a wonderful website. It's called NameCheck. It's namechk.com. And you can put any name in there and it will tell you if it's available as a website and whatever social platforms are available. So I'm branded everywhere as the DEB Method. So you can find me at the DEB Method on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. And then my book is Your Goal Guide Book. I have that URL, and that actually redirects to the Amazon page for my book, even though you can buy my book anywhere. But especially when I was doing my book launch, it was learn more at thedebmethod.com, grab your copy at yourgoalguidebook.com. So whether the URL for your book is also your website or it's integrated within it, it's great to have it. So it's just a much easier way to direct people where they can find you.
That's so great what you just brought up. And I just want to emphasize that for the listeners in case they missed it. And that is, if you cannot get your exact title as the .com, you can add the word book at the end of it. So yourgoalguidebook.com is an excellent example. And that's actually what we recommended to a client. We recommended that they use their title plus the word book. And a lot of movies will do that too. They'll put, xyzmovie.com if they can't get the exact title. But you really want to think about this in the beginning when you're doing the marketing.
What I wanted to back up with is because I realized I never said what the DEB method stands for. So the D in the DEB method stands for determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. And in my workshops, when I do goal setting and through my book, it really talks about using it in terms of figuring out the plan for your life. But it is also really relevant when working on a book. So determine your mission. In regards to writing a book, it's determine your mission, visualize what does the book look like? What is your bio now? What is your future bio? What is it going to say on your book cover, maybe before you write the book, and after the book brings you the recognition you want, you can keep that future bio for yourself. And also so important is how does your book help? When you have the mission, the fuel behind not just your business, but your book, it makes it so easy, like writing a book is easy, but it makes it easier to write because you've got that through line. So my mission, which is, I guess, as it relates to my book as well, is to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it so they can build a better life and in turn help other people. And then my motto is goal setting simplified. So everything that I create, whether it is my book, my workshops, my coaching, has that simple in it. I make the instructions simple because changing your life is challenging enough. The instructions need to be easy, so I made them easy.
Excellent points. So many great points. And I want to emphasize a couple of things that you just brought up. And one is the author bio. When we pitch a client to the media, meaning TV, radio, print, podcast, interviews, the host always wants to see the bio. And the reason why they want to see the biography is because they want to know, why is this person unique? Why is this person a great person to interview on my show? And so that will save so much time if you think about it from the beginning, and then you incorporate that what makes you unique into your book. Because what I find is most clients, when they come to Goody PR, they don't even have a bio. They may have it if they wrote a book, but it's way too long. And by way too long, I mean, it has to be in one paragraph. So think about what is the little bio that's going to go on the back of the cover versus what can go inside the book, because inside the back of the book, you can write more. But what is the 2 to 3 sentence bio that's going to go on the back of the book?
Yes. And all of these elements you also need for the book proposal as well. You need your bio, you need your platform. Where are you in the world? What is your social blueprint? What is your website? What marketing efforts are you going, go through Liz's book and pick out which marketing efforts make sense and find ways to incorporate that as well. You want to think big picture, but the book proposal is the marketing document. That is the blueprint for getting your book out there, whether you hire Liz and Goody PR, or you go through the book and do it yourself, or you're working in tandem with a publisher. You need to know what cool things that you're going to do to get your book out there, to sell the book, and that will also inform ways that you write it.
Exactly. And there are a lot of different reasons to write a book. One we talked about before is it increases your credibility. So that's a top thing. But another thing to write a book for is because you want to attract clients. So 8-second PR is part of attracting clients. I'm sure your goal guide also works for you that way. I had another client, he had a book called Tax-Free Wealth. And that was the number one way that he got clients to call his company and ask for a tax strategy, was people who read the book. And he gave a lot of information in the book, just like I'm sure we both give a lot of information in our books. But sometimes after people read a book like that, they say, oh, I can't do this all by myself, so I'm going to call the expert. So that would be number 2 reason to write a book. And number 3 would be to give back and make a difference. And that's really an important driver, because it's not about you. It's about how can you help other people. If you write a book that is all about you, you're going to put people to sleep. Just like going to a party and you talk to somebody and you say, what do you do? And then 30 minutes later, they're still talking about what they do. That doesn't work. It's the same thing with the book. So you want to use words like you can do this, or you can change your life in your book. It's not all about you.
Now let's take another step back and talk about the content, because the mission behind it is great, but you still have to write the words. And I've got a great exercise, which is my take on journaling, which will really help anyone who's having trouble, struggling to, okay, gonna write a book. Even with the table of contents, you still need to get the words out of your head and onto the page. So this is how directed journaling works. You want to schedule 3, 4, 5, 15-minute appointments with yourself, and over the course of a week. And during that time, all you want to do is do some free writing, some brainstorming based on the question, what am I going to write about? And then just, well, I think it's important to cover this, this, and this. Oh, I've got this great client story I want to put in. Oh, this is a good example. So basically throw all of your thoughts on the page and do this 3, 4, 5 times. And the trick is not to look at any of your brainstorms until after you've completed the exercise, because then you can go back and look at it objectively to find the common themes. Now, if you know what you want to write about going into the exercise, that's great. You can just pick up the different examples and anecdotes and the advice and put it into this table of contents outline. But what if you don't even know the outline? Well, this is a great way to figure out what that is. Oh, I'm going to write a book. What should I cover? I can cover this, this, and this, just directed to the questions you need to answer in order to move forward on your project. This works with books. It works with starting a blog. It works with making decisions for marketing campaigns. But when you do this kind of babbling on paper, and then you can go back and look at it objectively, you will find the common themes, and you'll be able to pick out from it what you need to be writing about, what speaks most to you, because what you're most enthusiastic about is what you're going to be able to put the energy behind. So that's a really good way to just dig in to the type of content. And it will also help you with getting over the writing hurdle, which people have, because let's say writing isn't your strong suit, but you have all these great thoughts. Journaling is a great way to practice writing because you have the information. You're just practicing ways to better articulate it on paper.
That's an excellent point, because I do think just journaling will get your energy going. It will get you thinking about what topic you want to cover, what's your passion, what gets you up in the morning. All kinds of things can happen when you're writing. And I love your exercise. That's a great example. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk more about book writing in general and getting it over the finish line. In terms of the foundation, the marketing plan is so important. And we've talked a lot about that. But then, how do you write the book? Like, how much time do you need to write a book besides like 10 years?
Well, gee, isn't that the $1 million question? So I kind of backed into, so I talked about the DEB method is determine your mission. E is explore your options, which I just talked about in terms of brainstorming, getting the ideas out there, added to it if you need to do any research to just it's getting all your ducks in a row, but also figuring out the direction of what you want to write. And then brainstorm your path is the first step, the B, in making that plan. And so you've got the content you're going to write. With the B, the point is to write out all the things that you need to do in relation to it. And it might be write the book proposal, write the marketing plan, write all the chapters, do the outline, do the revision, write all the things. And then next thing is to kind of divide and conquer. So you put all of your marketing things in a bucket, all your writing things in a bucket, and whatever other tasks you feel you need to do. Maybe there's some more research in there that needs to come out there. Maybe you want to do, I've done surveys in my books, just ask, I did it for Write on Blogging, 51 tips to create, write, and promote your blog. I put out a blogging survey. I have another survey in your goal guide as well about goal habits. So what are all the things that you need to do in relation to your book? And then you need to look at your calendar. So you need to take this inventory of your life, because writing a book, it could take 10 years. It could take a year. It could take several months. For mine, once I had the book proposal locked in with my publisher, I wrote it in 3 months because I had the information, I had the outline, I knew what needed to come out of my head and onto the page. But especially if you're writing a book on spec or to self-publish, your deadline is you. So the idea is to look at your life and see what's feasible. How many hours a week can you dedicate to working on your book? You want the outline, you want to do a draft of each chapter and then rewrite the chapters. It's really helpful. Everybody has a different writing style. So I like to talk in terms of how much time can you put in it every week and feel successful. Because let's say you have a full-time job and you've got a side hustle and you're writing a book to help others, but also gain credibility, gain clients for that side hustle. Well, maybe an hour a week is too much time to dedicate, but maybe you could do 15 minutes twice a week or 3 times a week. So look at your schedule and then put in appointments to work on your book. And the other key is to, when you do the appointments, and I do have this rule, you can move the appointments, but you can't delete them. So at the beginning of the week, commit an hour, and no matter how it's divided up, but each time you do a writing appointment, put in your calendar and make a note of what you worked on. Because then at the end of the month, when you're like, oh, it's taking so long, what? No, you can look at your calendar and say, wait, no, I made all this progress. Okay, it's working. It's just slower than I'd like, but I am moving forward. So you can use your past progress to motivate you for future progress. So make time that you will commit to, because the last thing you want to do is give up, right? You want to schedule the time and the activities that you can do that will make you feel successful and keep you moving forward.
I love the idea of setting up appointments to get you to set time to do the book and make it a priority, and that you can reschedule, but you can't delete it. Those are just excellent ideas. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing I just want to talk about is you also want to make sure when you get to the end of the road, in my case, because I'm self-publishing through Amazon, there are some key steps that you need to do if you're doing it on your own. So let me just go over that briefly, and then feel free to jump in. But one, you should get an editor or somebody to proofread, because you can't just look at it yourself. You're gonna have typos, you're gonna miss things. So you have to find an editor, and you have to leave enough time to give it to them, and then have them get it back to you. Number two, you need an ISBN. An ISBN is like your serial number for a book, and you can buy them online. Just Google ISBN and you can purchase it. The other thing you need is a book cover designer. If you have a publisher, the publisher will do your book cover. But if not, you're going to need a graphic artist to do your book cover. So that's important. And then you also need, which I did not know the first time I self-published, you need an interior book designer. So that's somebody who does the layout and the design of the inside of the book. And the outside book cover and the inside design can be the same person, or it can be two separate people. And in my case, I have a book cover designer in New York who's done work with Random House. I love her. Her name is Heidi North, and you can look her up. And then the interior book designer is actually something through a site called Upwork. I hired him, and he is in India, and we are communicating everything online. So we have to be really clear and concise to make sure there's no misunderstanding. And then after you get the inside of the book, the outside of the book ready, then you can publish on Amazon. And you need the book description, you need your bio, you need your headshot. There's so many steps in publishing a book, but you can have fun with it and fun with the creative process. But the first step is really what we've been emphasizing, and that is getting off your butt and writing that book that you always wanted to write. With all that said, did I skip any steps? Do you want to add anything?
Oh, I think you did a very nice overview, Arc. Yes, the main point that you said, which I want to hit home, is if you choose to self-publish, you want the product to be as professional as it would be as if you traditionally published, which means you want to write a good book. You know, sometimes, and if you're having trouble gathering all of your ideas, get a developmental editor. So I'm a goal strategist, so I help people with finding direction for their life or directions for a project. So I do work with people, they've got all these ideas in their head and they need help with a roadmap, whether it's a book or a blog or even a book proposal, to get them all focused and on track. Because if you don't have that through line, then there's absolutely no point in writing the book. It might actually be a hindrance to your credibility. You do not want to put poor quality out there, because good quality shows, poor quality shows even more, right?
You just brought up another really, really important point that everybody should write down. And that is, if you self-publish, you want to take it very seriously and produce a high quality product, because the book represents your brand and how your voice comes out to the world. So if you have a bad cover and the cover is the first thing they see, then that is going to reflect on you. So spend the money, invest on all these experts who can help you, who are pros. Don't try to do it yourself. Absolutely not. Hire a graphic designer to do the cover. Hire an expert who understands how to do book design, because your job is to write the words and get the words on paper and think about the marketing plan and your goals and your mission and all the things we've been talking about. But to get that high quality product out, you need a team. You cannot do it yourself. So with your publisher, who are the people on your team that made your book happen?
Well, we all made our book happen. Well, actually, so now I have to go into the Wayback Machine. So I worked, so the end of December 2018, I got interest from Mango, and I worked with Brenda Knight, who's the associate publisher, also my editor, and we went back and forth for a few months on the book proposal. And then once we got it locked in, it went from being the DEB method, which was basically how to, do DEB, goal setting simplified to create the life you want, to your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals. And through the back and forth is where the road trip theme came from, which is throughout my book. So I submitted it over the summer, and then we had a kickoff marketing meeting in the fall. My book went to an editor. I got the proof back. I did, oh my goodness. As much as you love your book, the part that is probably the most important is when you are doing that final read after you get it back from the editor. So I believe I had the mock-up that I did my edits on, and you want consistency, and mine also has worksheets in the back, so I had to make sure everything was in alignment. And I believe I had a long weekend to do it. I must have read through my book 3 or 4 times, and I had a couple other, my mom read through it as well. And as much as we love the book, you get to a point where you have to be like, okay, this is great. In tandem with that, one day my cover just showed up on the Amazon website, and I was having this marketing meeting, and I'm like, I love the cover, because I hadn't seen it before, and I got such positive feedback on it. Like, oh, you didn't see it? I'm like, no. You okay with it? I said, yeah, I love it. Great, let's go. The funniest part about the cover is, so it's a reddish and yellow. These are the colors of my childhood bedroom, which I thought was incredibly coincidental and hilarious. So, and then the book came out January 2020. I did a mini book tour around LA, and then we all know what happened in March, lockdown. So I transitioned from live book tour to virtual, and I've been talking about how you can make goals, and now is the perfect time to change your life for the past 2 years. And it's true. We're all connected. We have all the resources we need. If you want to write a book, you need to take it seriously. You need to love it. If you don't love it, then maybe writing a book is not the right thing for your business right now, but you can always go back to it. But if you're really committed, set a deadline, get your team, work together, and turn your book into reality, because you have that power.
Exactly. Everybody has the power to write a great book, but you do have to be committed. So think about it seriously for 2022. We're gonna wrap up here, because we have covered so much great information about how to come up with your book idea, how to come up with your marketing proposal, what's your mission, what makes you unique. And then we talked about the mechanics about how are you going to write that book? You're going to use journaling. You're going to set appointments for yourself. And then you're going to come up with how are you going to market this with your social media? Are you going to set up interviews? Can you do it virtually? Now you can do a lot virtually. And then who's on your team? Everything in the publishing world and publicity world, it's all about team and being professional, because your book is your brand. It is your brand new, and it's your message to the world. So we can't thank you enough. But before we go, is there anything else that we have skipped that you want to add?
Very important. I don't really want to go down this rabbit hole, but I feel I should mention getting reviews for your book is extremely important. So give people a little time to read the book, but also to have get some testimonials or some reviews of your book to have in your book when it goes out in there. That's another thing that I did because of my publisher. They said, okay, Deb, see how many testimonials you can get of your book, and they're right in the front cover.
And get testimonials from clients who've actually used your methods or your approach, who can speak on this works. You know, that's really important to get that too. The other thing that I want to stress before we go is, do you know how many books are published per day in the United States? Just take a guess.
A gazillion. No, I don't know. I just know that a lot.
A lot. It's actually 4,600 books are published a day in the United States. Now that is a crazy big number. So that means you have tons of competition. So doing the homework up front with everything that Deborah has been talking about, use the DEBmethod.com or her book, Your Goal Guide, is really going to help you, because it is a lot of work. So you want to do it right. Thank you again, Deborah. I'm going to give you the last word, and then we'll sign off.
Well, thank you again for having me on. I've had so much fun chatting with you about books and goals, you know, two of my favorite things. If you are watching or listening, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, say that this is where we met. You can learn more about me at thedebmethod.com/goals and how I can help you turn, whether it's the life you want into reality or the book you want to write into reality. Also, feel free to find me on social media at the DEB Method, or join my Write On Online group for goal setting, accountability, and community. And you've made the choice. You're going to write a book. Great. Keep with it. Stay the course. And just remember, you can do it.
Exactly. You can do it. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Do you want to increase your sales and word of mouth marketing by constantly being in headline news? Instead of getting lost at a big agency, Goody PR specializes in VIP service, where making your business look good is their top priority. Goody PR founder and best-selling author Liz H. Kelly has been there, done that, and built a team of PR professionals who have booked thousands of major media interviews for clients, including The Today Show, CNN, Fox News, BBC, NPR, and many, many more. Let them partner with you to find ways to magnify your brand so it emotionally connects and reaches your ideal audience. And the best part is that media interviews are 3 times more valuable than any paid ad. What are you waiting for? Email info@goodypr.com today. Set up a call to discuss how to get your story and business moving forward. That's info@goodypr.com. Thank you for tuning in for this edition of 8 Second Branding. Keep checking back for new shows featuring your host, Liz H. Kelly, on the Voice America Business Channel.